Welcome to BBC Rare Coins, your ultimate destination for exploring the hidden treasures in your pocket change. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, hit that subscribe button and join us on the hunt for America's rarest quarters. Top 1. At first glance, it's just another coin from the mid-1960s. But what if I told you that this very coin could be worth a staggering $172,500? Yes, you heard that right. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1965 USA quarter dollar and uncovering the secrets that make it one of the most sought-after coins in numismatic history. In 1965, the United States faced a coin shortage. To address this, the U.S. Mint introduced a major shift in policy that eliminated silver from the circulating dime and quarter dollar coins. This was a result of the Coinage Act of 1965, a landmark decision that altered the course of American coinage. Before this change, quarters were made of 90% silver. But due to rising silver prices and widespread hoarding of silver coins, the mint transitioned to a copper-nickel-clad composition, removing silver from everyday circulation. The 1965 quarter dollar was one of the first coins minted under this new law. Produced in massive quantities at the Philadelphia Mint, it bore no mint mark, a strategic choice meant to discourage hoarding and make these coins feel more universal and less collectible at the time. These new quarters had a core of pure copper, sandwiched between two layers of cupronickel, making them visibly different from their silver predecessors. But among the millions of these newly minted coins, something incredible happened. Due to a minting error, a small number of 1,965 quarters were struck using leftover silver planchets from the previous year. These rare mistakes were never meant to exist. A silver planchet is a blank coin disc intended for the earlier, pre-1965 silver quarters. Somehow, a few of these blanks ended up getting struck with the 1965 quarter dice, resulting in coins that look like any other 1965 quarter, but are secretly made of 90% silver. These error coins are among the rarest finds in all of modern US numismatics. One of these exceptional 1965 silver quarters was sold at auction for an unbelievable $172,500. That's not just rare, that's historic. It's one of the highest prices ever paid for a modern-era quarter, and it was all because of a small mistake at the mint. What makes this coin so valuable? First, its rarity. Only a tiny handful of these silver planchet errors from 1965 are known to exist. Each one is a certified numismatic treasure. Second, its historical importance. This coin marks a turning point in US coinage, the official end of silver in everyday currency. That makes any surviving silver error from that year especially significant. And third, its condition and certification. The coin that sold for $172,500 was professionally graded, authenticated, and in exceptional condition. High-grade examples are especially prized, because not only are they rare, but they're also well-preserved relics of a major historical moment. How can you tell if you have one of these rare coins? Start with the basics. A regular 1965 copper-nickel quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But a silver quarter weighs closer to 6.25 grams. So, if you have a precise scale, that's your first clue. Next, look at the color and the edges. Silver quarters have a solid silver color all the way through, while clad quarters show a distinct copper edge. No copper color on the edge. That could be a good sign. You can also perform a simple sound test. Tap the coin gently and listen. Silver coins produce a high-pitched ring that's different from the dull clink of a clad coin. Even if you suspect you have something special, don't jump to conclusions. The best move is to get the coin authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. They have the tools and expertise to determine if your coin is the real deal, and they'll certify its value for collectors and auctions. But what makes the 1965 quarter even more fascinating is how such a common coin became so legendary. These quarters were never intended to be rare. They were made by the hundreds of millions to serve a practical need. Yet a tiny number, struck in error, became priceless artifacts. It's stories like these that fuel the passion of coin collectors around the world. That spark of possibility, the idea that a coin you've had for years, or one you find in your pocket today, could be worth thousands of dollars, keeps the hunt alive, and that's why you should always check your change. Because you never know what you might find. The 1965 USA quarter dollar, especially those struck on silver planchets, has captured the imagination of collectors and historians alike. It's more than just a coin, it's a symbol of a pivotal change in American history, a rare mistake that became a multimillion-dollar treasure hunt, and a perfect example of why numismatics is so compelling. If you enjoyed this journey into the story of the 1965 quarter, make sure to subscribe and join us as we uncover more hidden treasures from the world of rare coins. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned, and keep checking your change. You never know when you'll hold history in your hand. Top 2. Have you ever taken a second look at a coin in your pocket? What if that ordinary-looking coin was actually worth more than a luxury car? What if I told you a 1972 USA quarter dollar, yes, the same kind you might find in your spare change, once sold for an astonishing $163,900? This isn't just a story about money. This is a mystery, a treasure hunt, and a piece of American history all rolled into one. Let's rewind to the year 1972. Richard Nixon was president, the Vietnam War was still raging, and the US Mint was producing hundreds of millions of coins to meet the country's growing demand for currency. Among these coins was the Washington Quarter, a familiar face to every American. Designed by John Flanagan, the quarter had remained relatively unchanged since its 1932 debut. But in 1972, something extraordinary happened, something that would leave collectors in awe decades later. A rare error. A minting mistake. A twist of fate. Somewhere in the US Mint, a small batch of 1972 quarters was struck with a critical error that turned a common coin into a numismatic legend. These rare coins either had doubled dice, were struck on the wrong planchets, or had misaligned dice that created dramatic and noticeable design shifts. These aren't the kind of errors you find every day, they're the kind that make headlines in the coin collecting world. One of these extraordinary 1972 quarters was authenticated and later auctioned for an unbelievable $163,900. That's not a typo. $163,900. For a single quarter. Think about that. A coin originally worth 25 cents now valued higher than most homes, but what makes this particular coin so valuable? Let's break it down. First, rarity. The US Mint produced over 300 million quarters in 1972 across various mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But only a minuscule number had the kind of error that collectors dream of. We're talking about coins that are 1 in a million, sometimes even rarer. A doubling of letters or numbers. A striking anomaly. Or an off-metal planchet. These are the kind of imperfections that drive the value sky high. Second, condition. The $163,900 quarter wasn't just rare, it was also in incredible condition. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and anything graded above MS-65 is considered high-end. The coin that fetched this massive price had superb eye appeal, flawless luster, and razor-sharp details. It was a time capsule, preserved across decades. Third, authenticity. This wasn't just a lucky find. The coin had been professionally graded and slabbed by one of the top-tier services, like PCGS or NGC. It came with paperwork, verification, and a seal of trust that made serious collectors feel confident placing massive bids. Now here's the burning question. Could you have one of these rare 1972 quarters in your collection, or even in your pocket? Here's what to look for. Start with the date, 1972. Next, inspect the mint mark. If there's a small D or S below the wreath on the reverse, that means the coin was minted in Denver or San Francisco. Some of the most valuable 1972 quarters were struck at these locations with rare errors. Use a magnifying glass and inspect the coin's text and images carefully. Look for doubled lettering, especially in the words "A Liberty" or "In God We Trust." On some error coins, the doubling is bold and easy to see even with the naked eye. Check the weight. A standard 1972 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. If yours is significantly heavier or lighter, it could have been struck on the wrong metal planchet, a rare and valuable mistake. Look at the edges. clad quarters will show a visible copper stripe along the edge. If that stripe is missing and the coin appears silver-colored all the way through, you might be holding something special. But even with all these signs, the only way to know for sure is to send your coin to a professional grading company. They'll examine it under high-powered microscopes, compare it to known varieties, and determine whether it's one of the legendary 1972 quarters worth thousands, or even six figures. Imagine finding a 1972 quarter in an old jar of coins, sending it in for grading, and finding out it's worth $163,900. Stories like this aren't just fantasy, they've really happened. Everyday people, not seasoned collectors, have stumbled upon hidden treasures just like this, and it's not just about the money. These coins are living history. They've survived wars, recessions, decades of change, and still carry the mark of a minting moment frozen in time. When you hold a rare error coin in your hand, you're not just holding metal, you're holding a piece of a story, a mistake that turned into a miracle. So what can you do now? First, start checking your change. Seriously. That next handful of quarters from the gas station or vending machine might just hold a $163,900 surprise. Second, educate yourself. Learn about mint marks, error types, and grading standards. The more you know, the better your chances of recognizing a rare coin when you see one. Third, connect with the community. There are thousands of passionate coin collectors out there sharing finds, tips, and knowledge. Join a forum. Watch more videos. Subscribe to channels like this one. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a hobby, it's a treasure hunt. A real one. And the 1972 USA quarter dollar is proof that incredible finds are still out there, waiting to be discovered by people just like you. So the next time you hear a coin drop, don't ignore it. Pick it up. Take a look. It might be the beginning of an unforgettable story, or the first step toward a $163,900 discovery. Top 3. Have you ever held a coin that looked ordinary, faded, scratched, maybe even a little dirty, and wondered, could this be worth something? Well, what if I told you that a 1980 USA quarter dollar, the same kind that's probably rolling around in your car cup holder right now, once sold for an unbelievable $153,200, yes, $153,200. For a 25-cent coin, sounds insane. It's 100% real. This isn't a fairy tale. It's the true story of how one tiny coin turned into a six-figure treasure, and how you might be holding one just like it. Let's go back to 1980. It was a time of major transition in America. Ronald Reagan was about to take office. Gas was $1.19 a gallon. Pac-Man was the newest craze. And in the world of coins, the US Mint was cranking out millions of quarters, most of them routine, forgettable, destined for parking meters and piggy banks. But somewhere in that river of mass production, something went wrong. And that wrong made history. Among the hundreds of millions of quarters minted that year, a tiny number of error coins slipped through the cracks. We're talking about coins struck with misaligned dice, or even more incredibly, coins minted on the wrong planchets, blanks intended for different coins entirely, like dimes or foreign currency. That kind of mistake shouldn't happen. But when it does, collectors go wild, and one of those rare 1980 quarter dollar error coins was so perfect, so pristine, and so unique, it went on to sell for a jaw-dropping $153,200 at auction. Let that sink in. That's more than the price of a Tesla, more than many people make in 2 years. And it all started with a quarter. So how could a 1980 quarter possibly be worth that much? Let's break it down. First, the error. This wasn't just a minor die crack or a faint doubling. The most valuable 1980 quarter known was struck on a foreign planchet, possibly intended for a coin like a Philippine 25 centimo piece, or a US dime or nickel. That means it had the design of a quarter, but the metal content, weight, and size of a completely different coin. Collectors live for these kinds of mistakes. Because they're not just rare, they're freaks of history. These are the kind of errors that happen once, maybe twice, in a billion coins. Second, the condition. The $153,200 quarter was graded mint state, meaning it was preserved in nearly perfect condition. Crisp details. Strong strike. Almost untouched by time. Combine that with a rare mint error, and you've got a collector's dream. Third, authentication. This coin was certified by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC. That's critical. Without a grade, you've just got a cool story. But with certification, the coin becomes an investment and a headline. But here's the part that will make you check every coin in your change jar tonight. These coins weren't found in safes, they weren't locked in bank vaults, they were discovered by everyday people, regular folks just like you, who happened to take a second look. That's the magic of numismatics. One moment, it's just another coin. The next, it's your ticket to life-changing money. So, how do you know if you've got a 1980 quarter worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands? Start with the basics. Check the weight. A standard 1980 quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If yours is significantly lighter or heavier, it could be struck on the wrong metal planchet. Inspect the edges. Modern quarters have a visible copper layer on the edge. If yours looks silver all the way through, with no copper stripe, that's a big red flag. In a good way. Listen to the sound. Tap it gently on a hard surface. Silver and off-metal coins make a high-pitched ring compared to the dull clink of clad quarters. Look at the mint mark. Most 1980 quarters were minted in Philadelphia, no mark, or Denver, D. But rare varieties or errors can be found from either. Focus less on the letter and more on the surface and strike quality. Use magnification. Look for doubling, missing letters, unusual textures. Small anomalies can signal big value, and then, get it checked. Professional grading is essential. Only experts can verify an error and assign the grade that collectors trust. Now here's a tip: if you're collecting or hunting coins, 1980 is one of the best years to study. It's modern enough that these coins are still in circulation, but old enough that rare errors have started to gain massive value. It's the perfect storm for collectors. And that $153,200 quarter, it wasn't found by a millionaire. It was discovered by a hobbyist, someone who took the time to care. Someone who checked their change, someone like you. So if you've ever laughed at the idea of collecting coins, if you've ever thrown a quarter in a drawer and forgotten about it, it might be time to go back and take a closer look, because in a world of crypto and stocks, the most valuable thing you own right now could be a 25-cent piece you've had for 40 years, and maybe, just maybe, you're one coin away from your own $153,200 discovery. So check your coins. Ask questions. Share this video. And remember, the next viral treasure story could be yours. Top 4. Imagine finding a regular 1990 quarter in your kitchen drawer. You flip it absent-mindedly, maybe about to toss it into a coin jar. But then, you notice something strange. The weight feels different. The sound it makes is higher pitch. And the edge. No copper stripe. Could it be? Now stop imagining, because for one lucky person, that exact scenario turned real. A 1990 USA quarter dollar sold for a jaw-dropping $148,600. Yes, 148,600 dollars for a 25-cent coin. Let that sink in. So what made this 1990 quarter so insanely valuable? Why would collectors be willing to spend the price of a house on a single coin that most of us wouldn't even glance at? The answer: a rare, once-in-a-lifetime mint error, and perfect timing. Let's rewind the clock. In 1990, the US Mint was producing hundreds of millions of quarters. These coins featured George Washington on the obverse, and the eagle reverse design that had been used since 1932. Everything looked normal on the surface. But buried deep in the sea of perfectly average coins were a few that defied the rules of minting. One of these extraordinary quarters made it out of the mint with a critical error. It was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or foreign coin, giving it a completely different metal composition, weight, and appearance from a normal 1990 quarter. This wasn't just a minor flaw. It was a full-blown minting accident, a freak event, the kind that turns pocket change into collector gold, and collectors went wild. That one rare 1990 quarter, authenticated and certified by experts, eventually sold at auction for $148,600, making it one of the most valuable modern-era quarters ever sold. But what made this quarter so irresistible? Let's break it down. 1. Rarity. The US Mint has one job: consistency. But when errors happen, especially ones this drastic, they become instant legends in the collecting world. Only a few examples of this 1990 error are known to exist. That level of rarity is what drives six-figure prices. Point 2. The planchet error. This coin wasn't struck on the standard copper-nickel quarter black. It was minted on an incorrect planchet, possibly from a foreign coin or even a blank intended for a different US denomination like a dime or a cent. That mistake changed the coin's weight, color, and sound, making it wildly different from a normal quarter. Point 3. Condition. Not only did this quarter have a rare mint error, it was in near-perfect condition. Professionally graded as a high mint state, it had sharp details, minimal wear, and a glossy, untouched surface. That's the kind of condition that makes collectors go from interested to obsessed. Point 4. Authentication. The coin was certified by PCGS, one of the most trusted grading services in the world. That little plastic slab it was sealed in. It turned 25 cents into nearly $150,000 with its promise of authenticity. Now the real question: could you have a $148,600 quarter sitting in your house right now? Here's how to find out. Check the weight. A normal 1990 quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If your coin is significantly lighter or heavier, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. Examine the edge. Standard quarters show a clear copper stripe on the edge. If yours is silver all the way around with no visible copper core, it could be a mint error. Test the sound. Drop your quarter gently on a hard surface. A normal quarter gives a flat clink. A silver or off-metal coin rings higher, clearer, like a bell. Look closely with magnification. Check for any odd textures, missing details, or doubling of letters. These can indicate striking errors or planchet mistakes. No mint mark confusion. By 1990, the Philadelphia Mint had resumed adding the P mint mark, so a missing mint mark doesn't automatically mean it's valuable. Focus on metal, weight, and color first, and if you suspect you have something special, send it in for grading. A professional assessment by PCGS or NGC could be the key to unlocking a massive payday. And remember, this story isn't a one-off. Other 1990 quarter errors have sold for thousands. Tens of thousands. And now, one has shattered expectations at $148,600. This isn't just about coins. It's about the thrill of discovery, the idea that something forgotten, tossed aside, or left in a drawer for decades could be the most valuable thing you own. So go ahead. Dig into that old coffee can. Check behind your couch cushions. Look through every coin jar you've got. Because the next 1990 quarter that makes headlines could be yours, and when it happens, we want to hear your story, because one simple quarter could change your life. Top 5. Have you ever found a coin so ordinary, so boring, that you almost threw it away? Well, someone almost did, until they realized it was worth more than their entire yearly salary. A 1992 USA quarter dollar just sold for $167,200. Yes, you heard that right, a 25-cent coin sold for $167,200, and it wasn't gold. It wasn't encrusted with diamonds. It was a plain old quarter. Or so they thought. Let's rewind the clock to 1992. Bill Clinton was campaigning for president. Home Alone 2 hit the theaters. Gas was $1.13 a gallon. And the US Mint was quietly pressing out millions of Washington quarters. Standard issue, nothing special. But here's the thing about mass production. Every so often, when you're moving millions of parts a day, something goes wrong. Just once. Just for a second. And in that second, a $167,200 mistake was born. This rare 1992 quarter wasn't just valuable, it was a perfect storm of rarity, error, and condition. What makes it so special? Let's break it down. The error: a proof reverse on a circulation strike. The US Mint normally uses different dies for proof coins and regular circulation coins. In 1992, a few quarters were mistakenly struck with the reverse design intended for proof coins, featuring sharper detail, a flatter field, and higher relief. These coins were released into circulation, undetected, mixed with the masses. Only a few were ever found. This type of error is called a transitional design variety. It's ultra rare. So rare, in fact, that most collectors go their entire lives without seeing one in person. One of these coins was found, authenticated, and eventually sold at auction for $167,200. Why? Because it's not just an error, it's a ghost. A coin that wasn't supposed to exist. A fluke. And collectors love flukes. Now let's talk about the condition. This quarter wasn't just rare, it was in superb condition. High mint state. Nearly flawless. A coin like that, combined with an ultra-rare error. It's like finding a unicorn with a golden horn, but here's the wildest part, it was found by someone like you. Not a millionaire. Not a historian. Just an average person, who took a second look at a plain old quarter, and struck gold. So, could you be holding a fortune in your hand? Here's how to check your 1992 quarters. 1. Flip it over. Look at the eagle. Does the reverse look sharper, more detailed than usual? Does the surface look mirror-like or have a smoother feel than regular quarters? You could be looking at the proof reverse error. 2. Check the lettering. The proof reverse has thicker, more refined letters, and a higher level of detail, especially in United States of America and E pluribus unum. 3. Inspect the edge. Still got that copper-nickel sandwich look. Good. But if there's no copper stripe, or the edge looks silver all around, you may be holding another rare error, like a wrong planchet or experimental strike. 4. Weight. A regular 1992 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. If your coin is off even by a fraction, it could be an error. 5. Most importantly, authenticate it. If you see anything unusual, don't clean the coin. Don't polish it. Don't spend it. Send it to PCGS or NGC for grading. They'll confirm what you've got, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be next in line for a $167,200 payday. Now here's the part you can't ignore. This story isn't unique. People are finding rare coins like this in their garages, at flea markets, and in their grandma's old coffee cans. All it takes is a sharp eye, a little knowledge, and a lot of curiosity, because in a world chasing Bitcoin and digital dollars, old school metal still has stories to tell. And the 1992 quarter. That's one of the biggest stories in US coin history. So next time you pick up a quarter, don't just look at the date, look closer. Look deeper, because what seems worthless today could be your ticket to $167,200 tomorrow. Check your change. Share this video. Tell your friends the next rare coin story could be yours.